Good evening. This is the meeting will now be called to order. This is the Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting for March the 17th. I'm the chair, Council Members Anthony Aller for the 3rd District. At this time, I will call roll for those members first, of the committee first. Anthony Aller present. Nathan Fields, Council Member Nathan Fields, Vice Chair. Councilmember Nathan Fields. Next, we have Chris Johnson. Councilmember Chris Johnson.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Kobe Owens. Councilmember Christian Willow.
Here.
Council President Trippy Congo. I mean, that was, let me say it going this way. Oh, that's absent. Oh, as a friendly reminder, only members of the committee should be making motions and seconding. Okay, with that being said, we're going to get started with the agenda. This would be a discussion for in reference to number 1 to ordinance 23-29. The ordinance amended chapter 2 of the city code to create procedures whereby residents may petition the Department of Public Works to conduct traffic studies and install traffic calming devices. Do we have anyone here to speak in regards to this? Ms. English, question. Do you have a petition for Jessup Street? I don't need it right now.
Good evening, Madam Chair. My name is Kelly Williams. I am the Commissioner of Public Works.
Thank you.
And good evening, council members and Madam Chair. My name is Steve Weber. I am the Director of Transportation.
Okay, so we're here to speak regarding the petition that did for the to conduct the traffic study installing traffic calming devices.
That's correct. This ordinance is ordinance 23-029. Again, ordinance to amend chapter 2 of the city code to create a procedure whereby residents may petition the Department of Public Works to conduct traffic studies and install traffic calming devices. Particularly, we're talking about the petition portion of it, so I'll just skip to that portion of the ordinance where we're going to amend section 2-298 for the new subsection. So section 298, we're representing transportation-related functions and duty reports. So this section was revised to include any residential communities where 25 or more residents.
You on page 3?
I'm on page 2, actually.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
18 there at the bottom.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Sure. Residents can, whereas 25 or more residents of a designated census tract that have identified residential street traffic issues that substantially affect livability and safety to the community may present a petition setting forth said issues of the Commissioner of the Public Works, their designee. The process for this is as follows. Section A, the petition must provide sufficient detail regarding the exact street traffic issue and how this substantially affects the livability and safety of the community. For that, at least 2 pictures of the street traffic issue taken from different actions or vantage points on the street are required to be included with the petition. Video footage of the street traffic issue can be submitted but not required. The petition shall be signed by 25 residents in the designated census tract affected by the street traffic issue. Each resident should provide their typed address above, below, or next to their signature. One of the 25 residents shall indicate on the petition that he or she is the resident filing the petition, referenced as the filer. The filer shall file the petition with the commissioner or the designee through electronic or standard emails. Now, that is all for the actual petition submission from the residents to the commissioner or their designee. Now, getting into the review of the submission requirements and how, once it's received by the Public Works, how we review it is upon receiving the petition, the commissioner or the designee shall first determine if the petition, 1, meets the requirements of the subject A above. 2, concerning streets owned only by the city. 3, involves traffic issues as defined in Section 37-1 of the City Code. And 4, concerns residential street traffic issues that substantially affect the livability and safety of the community, which includes involving frequent pedestrian accidents, frequent and significant vehicle accidents, or the creation of new traffic patterns resulting from the construction or increased pedestrian or vehicle volume. So that's all that we will look for once we receive it. So
All right.
going further, if it's deemed approved, then we would go through the process of going through the 60-day response, sending a notification to the filer, and let the filer know that we will continue. If it does not meet that requirement and it fails, then we just have to submit a response back to them eventually.
Okay. I have a question.
Sure.
That I've received several emails regarding, so we can just get some clarity on. It's a petition for, I think, Lancaster Avenue. So for the public, if you can explain what's going on over on Lancaster Avenue, because I think that's why most of the individuals are here in the back. So I just wanted to just clear that up.
I can speak to that.
Thank you.
I didn't quite hear all that you said.
No, I said we're just talking about the individuals who sent me emails regarding Lancaster Avenue. So if you can get some clarity around, I know they submitted some time ago a list of, they knocked on some doors and got some signatures, and the email was saying they hadn't heard anything within 90 days back from Public Works Commissioner or anyone from Public Works. So if you could speak towards that.
So the petition was denied because of 18 subsection B2, which says concerned street only owned by the city. Lancaster Ave is not a city street. It is a Del Dot road.
So what would they have to do? What would be their next step so they know what to do?
So we have already notified Del Dot of the concern, as well as Wilmapco, who are, Wilmapco, actually, Dave Gula was present at the June community meeting in which this petition was discussed, it's my understanding. So they're aware of the issue. From there, it is basically, continuing to meet and discuss with Del Dot that this is one of the city's priorities. Wilmapco is not an organization that moves very quickly. So it takes years for a program to be designed, funded, and then actually go to construction.
Is there a particular person over there or email that maybe I can give them so they will email the right person?
So,
I'm only saying that so we don't keep receiving the emails when.
Yeah. I can
Get back.
give you Dave Gula's email. He is the contact person for Wilmapco, who then orchestrates with Del Dot a lot of the community type projects.
If you have it with you, if you can give it to me so they can write it down so they can email them. So
Yeah, I'll have to
if you have it in your phone, I didn't know. I was just wondering if you have
email
it
it
anywhere.
to you because I
Okay.
don't know it off the top of my
Okay,
head.
no problem. And his name again is,
Dave Gula,
how you spell his last name?
Gula.
Oh, it's Dave Gula. Okay, he's
Yeah,
still there.
Dave Gula, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Any questions from council members?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So I just wanted to say thank you to Council Member Oliver, Chair Oliver, because I think this legislation is great. And basically, to explain to the public, all the viewers out there, about what it does, is it just gives a pathway for residents who are concerned about city streets, about traffic problems on their city streets, to be able to talk to their neighbors, pull together a petition, and ask the Department of Public Works to take a look at it. And then the Department of Public Works can do the study, and there's a process for communication about, you know, what the options are and things like that. So I just think that introducing this level of just this pathway, because we hear a lot from residents about, you know, people speeding on streets, they want to street calming and things like that. And so I just want to thank, you know, the Department of Public Works for, I'm sure, working with Councilwoman Oliver, but especially Councilwoman Oliver for putting together this excellent legislation, because I think it's a real need that people want to figure out ways to make our streets safer. So I want to thank the Department of Public Works for working with the community on these kinds of things. And then also, you know, specifically, I did have some questions. And I want to thank also Councilwoman Oliver for just asking the questions about Lancaster, because that's in the 5th District. I know a lot of the residents here are from the 5th District and 6th District are really concerned about these issues on Lancaster, but also 2nd and 4th Street. And so they're all like state highways. So I guess my question to you is how does the city work, you know, with DelDOT? Like, there are these streets that are both city streets and state highways. Like, is there a pathway for collaboration between the city and DelDOT on any of these things? And is it something that's beyond just residents contacting DelDOT? Like, does the city ever work directly with DelDOT on like transportation type issues?
Yeah, we do. You know, we work with them, you know, pretty often. But anything that happens on a state street has to start and end with DelDOT. So there are a number of traffic initiatives going on around the city. Walnut Street, for example, 4th Street. There's a project on Adams and Jackson. And they're, you know, they put in the bike lanes all over the city. That's, you know, who's doing that, the bike lanes. So, yeah, we work with them quite often. It's just it depends. DelDOT is a pretty big organization, so depending on the specific issue is the person that you deal with. So it's very siloed, no judgment, just saying that it is siloed. So the people who do, you know, bikes and pedestrian are different than the people who do maintenance and repaving, and different than the people who are planners. And then there's hundreds of different ways of, like, a project can be implemented. I actually don't even understand all of it. So, you know, what's happening at Brandywine Village is different than what's happening with the multi-use path in Southbridge. So it's just, it's sort of a, you know, it's a difficult organization to sort of get your hands around, which is why we rely a lot on WillMapGo to assist us in the process.
Thank you very much. And Madam Chair, follow-up
Sure,
question?
follow-up.
Do you think you could tell us a little bit more about how Wilmington Initiatives coordinates which projects get prioritized in the city?
So Wilmington Initiatives asks for a project all over the state. So Wilmington Initiatives doesn't just do Wilmington, it's Newcastle as well as the city. They ask for a list of potential projects. There are a number of different criteria that fall within what they're looking for a project. Is it big enough? Is it impact enough residents? Is it multimodal, meaning does it involve pedestrians, cars, and bikes, for example? So that's their internal process there, and then they have a ranking system, and then one or two projects are ranked and get funded eventually, maybe. It's not it's all depending on what funding is available.
Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. First, I'd like to announce Councilmember Kobe Owens is here on the record, and also Councilwoman Yolanda McCoy. We want to identify, and also Councilmember Chris Johnson. Thank you. Go ahead, last question. Okay. You have any questions? Do any council members on line have any questions? Councilmember Nathan Field? Nathan Fields, that's your hand up?
Yes, I don't have my hand up.
I'm sorry. Oh, that's your hand. I'm sorry. Okay. Do we have any?
I'm sorry, yeah, that was my
I'm sorry.
hand.
I'm sorry if there was a name. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councilmember Yolanda Fields. Yolanda McCoy. I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you, Madam Chair. So first, I would like to say I'm so glad that you're able to get that information off of Lancaster Avenue. Lancaster Avenue has been an issue when it comes to traffic calming measures for some time, and I've actually already had the city of Wilmington come out and do like the counter, the measures that they have where they count the traffic, what is like pretty much how fast people are going, how many cars are coming down. And we know we passed that information on to DelDOT. And the only thing at that time that I was trying to do, because, Councilwoman Oliver and I, we basically had talked quite lengthily about different things like speed bumps and stuff. So the thing that I was actually trying to do at that time was to make certain that the lights were not coordinated, so that during certain times of the day they would have to stop at each light to try to slow down traffic. But I do understand that Lancaster is a state road. I had passed that information on. I have really hadn't gotten anything from it, but I'd be more than happy to really start trying to, really bring in more attention to it, because Lancaster Avenue and 2nd Street, which is actually not my district, but those are the two that I always heard about, were the ones that I always got the most questions towards. The only thing that I actually got on a line to hear about was the process for the traffic calming devices, because I have a city street that I need to do on Sycamore near the new community center, and I just wanted to make certain that I got the information so that I can try to move forward and see if I can get that petition done. But thank you, and you can forward any information to me about Lancaster or share anything, or if you need me to talk to anyone at DelDOT, because I have made a few connections, just please let me know, and I'll pass on that information.
Thank you.
So Councilwoman McCoy, the process is now that this code has been created, the process is that you need 25 residents in the same
Area.
consensus track to put together a petition for whatever it is on Sycamore that you're looking to have studied.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman McCoy, you said you had, did you already have a study done on Lancaster? Is that what you said? Have you received anything back, or you haven't?
No, I did not receive anything back. The study that I did was more so from the traffic, Sergeant Lakia from traffic in Wilmington Police Department. They put down the little devices to count cars and what is the average on the speed coming down the street. They did that for me. I've actually had that done in several locations, trying to have a better understanding of which areas needed to have the traffic calming.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Chris Johnson?
Good evening, Commissioner Williams. Just a quick question on I think about how to implement this project that, Councilmember Oliver and I worked on, last session. And is it possible that we can get a map of the state roads within the city of Wilmington, so that, when residents are moving to do these petitions, they don't waste time because it seems like there's obviously confusion about what roads are state, which ones aren't. Like, I understand Lancaster State. I guess Maryland Avenue would be state. I'm hearing Second Street is a state road. So is it possible to do a map so that that could be on the website and there could just be kind of a little quick guide so residents can kind of, easily access the information for this?
Yeah, actually, I sent that to Barbara Belli I think it was this morning or maybe it was last Friday, to put that specific map up on the website.
Okay, that'd be helpful because I appreciate the 5th District residents. I know Lancaster, again, that part of that is in the 7th as well. That's a concern, and residents took quick action, and we found out that it was not a city-controlled road, so we have to kind of pivot. But it would just be helpful because, again, I have a general idea, but even sometimes I don't know which ones are state-controlled roads. So that would be helpful. And then, like I said, we can move and try to get some of these devices. And Chairwoman, I have one more follow-up.
Sure, follow up.
So this new traffic calming device program, Commissioner, have we had any successful ones installed yet, or are all of them still in the works?
I can answer.
So in order for it, it depends what you're asking about, but we wouldn't do anything necessarily without a study first. Especially, if it's on a state road, the DelDOT, that we need permission from them. But there are many, many, many different types of traffic calming measures. So I'm not sure specifically what which one you're talking about.
Well, I guess, Commissioner, since this ordinance was passed last in 2024, under this program, has there been any successful installations?
This Lancaster app was the very first petition and the only petition that
Okay.
I've received.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Commissioner.
Councilman Johnson, that was a good point that you stated regarding the map, so people don't go getting all the petitions and it's not the street. Could you please send me that? I appreciate it. Councilman Owens?
Yes, hello. Two quick questions. So I keep hearing individuals council members talk about traffic calming devices. And I'm sorry if you already explained this. Can you explain what is a traffic calming device?
There's
I'm going to leave that to the
yeah.
engineer.
There's many that goes from vertical adjustments, which is speed bumps, speed humps, speed tables, and all the other vertical issues. The city has a main concern with putting them in due to city equipment, response times to EMS, and fire, police as well. So it's not a widespread support for those traffic calming. Other ideas of traffic calming would be bump outs at intersections, to tighten the lane coming in from an intersection and leaving, so people are slowing down. It also gives pedestrians clearer visibility. We can road diets is taking 2 lanes and making them one. Also, having a wide road it makes drivers very comfortable. They'll go faster if you make the road narrower. So add a bike lane in there. It doesn't have to be a road diet, but even just adding a physical bike lane in there constricts the area where people drive and they'll ultimately drive slower.
Pedestrian stop, so you put an island in the middle of a wider road so that a pedestrian can stop in the middle if they need to. There are literally hundreds of different traffic calming measures. And it all depends, it's all site specific.
Each intersection is different, and it depends on the geometry of the intersection to what would best suit.
Yep.
So unfortunately, it's not a one-size-fits-all, and we can be putting them out there everywhere and easily. And also, if you're doing infrastructure as far as new concrete, new curbing, tearing up roadways, the costs start getting really high.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Follow up.
Yeah, my follow-up was, recently I've received a lot of emails about this Lancaster Avenue petition. And one of the things in one of the emails stated that there had been no response to it. I know if the petition is accepted, you have a 60-day window. when was the petition, again, I'm new here, I got here in January. When was the petition received, and is there a reason no response came out from it?
Yeah, so it was received in June, and the previous administration had an issue specifically with the people who had submitted it not being appropriate members of the 5th NPC. Apparently they're out of compliance, and, you know, that was the previous administration.
My follow-up with that is, in Councilwoman, I know this was your legislation. The NPC does not have to submit this petition. It just has to be residents within the census tract.
That is
correct?
correct. In fact, I would recommend that an NPC not submit it, and
Right.
that an individual filer who is on the actual petition must be identified, and that person should be submitting it.
Okay.
And it was not part of the submission, the petition submission. There was no identifier, a filer on that submission.
Okay. Thank you.
So let me follow up. So let me see a copy. Can I see the petition? You have it with you? No, Miss English, can you get that please? Thank you. And I guess my point is, it just seemed like somebody should at least email them and said something to them, so nobody, you know, just instead of just disregard. No one has emailed them to say A, B, C, or D, so that's why I think that's one of the major things. And I did have a petition for Lumber Street and Jessup Street, and I did give mine to the previous administration, but I'm not surprised if you haven't received it, but I do have a copy of it. So you're saying because they said they was with the Neighborhood Planning Council?
That was all the emails that we received recently. It was all coming from the 5th District NPC, asking for the status. Now, in the ordinance, it does not specify if it's failed, a timeline for which a submission needs to be reported back to the to a filer or a person who had submitted it.
I mean, so I guess my
If you want
question.
the actual petition,
I gave them the first sheet
No,
and
it's-
the photographs.
so the photographs, which were screenshots, and then the petition looks like this.
Right. So I guess my question is, why didn't anyone just email them back and say something to them? I mean, they're still residents of City of Wilmington.
So I was ready to deny the petition immediately because it's not a city road.
Oh, gotcha.
I was asked to wait until they figured out the NPC thing. Because the people who submitted it are actually not on the petition. So to give you some context, okay.
Hi, Council Chair.
Could you give your name for the record, please?
Yeah, Stephanie Merkler, Deputy Chief of Staff. I don't have the background on this particular issue or why the previous administration did not move forward with that request. All I can say is we apologize to the 5th District for not getting back to them sooner. Going forward, no matter what decision is made out of the mayor's office, we will make sure that we communicate swiftly with the residents and let them know what the status is. So this is, not getting back to our residents is not acceptable, and we will
Right.
not do that going forward.
Thank you. That was my next statement, just not reaching back out to the residents.
Absolutely.
Now council members are receiving all these emails, and now they're sending us emails saying they put in something last June, nobody's contacted them, on and on and on, and we're just up here like, what's going on? And just to hear that, we didn't get back with them because they're part of the NCP, I mean, that's horrible.
No, but we absolutely apologize for that, and that will not happen going forward.
Thanks a lot. Councilman Owens?
Yes, Ms. Migler, thank you so much for that response. And again, before I say what I'm about to say, I just want to say thank you, Councilwoman Oliver, for bringing this legislation forth last go-round in 108th. And I would ask, just so that something like this doesn't happen again, I think the next best step to ensure that, regardless if any of us here on council or here, or anyone in the administration changes over, that we just go ahead and put this in code, that regardless of if it's accepted, the 60 days stays. If it's denied, you have 60 days to inform the people. And again, if the issue is the people who submitted it, I'm not going to say anyone's name just to protect their privacy, but on this petition, it has their printed name, their signature, their address, their phone numbers to multiple people who signed this. So again, just best practice would have been reaching out to someone on a petition about this. So again, I think the next best step is, and I'm willing to, if it's okay with you, I'll bring forth an ordinance to put into this section that 60 days, regardless of acceptance or denial, a response has to be made for the community.
Absolutely. And if you wouldn't mind, I add one more. And going forward, we do have a community engagement team now that we urge our residents, if something isn't moving forward or you need help with something, definitely reach out to either our community engagement team or our constituent services office or me directly and just let us know if something, and we will follow up on it. And again, apologies for this delay.
Thank you. Oh, Commissioner, Councilman, it's in here for the 60 days. We just make an amendment just to say one way or another. Okay.
If I may add one comment to that?
Sure.
If you're going to make that change, what I would also do is specify at the first line the filer, so that way we don't have to respond to everyone, that we can have one main contact for communication.
That sounds good.
Council member.
Or maybe even an alternate too, so.
Council member Christian Willock.
Yeah, I just want to thank Councilwoman Oliver for, bringing up the timing issue and the concerns of the residents. It is in the 5th district. So, but I really appreciate all the council taking this issue seriously, and Councilmember Owens also just for, coming up with the idea of one way or the other get back to the community. I think that makes a lot of sense. I did want to talk. I don't know if I can talk about the initiative. Okay, so I think that's what I wanted to say on this. So thank you. And thank you also to the new administration for your commitment to community engagement. I think that'll go a long way. And also, quite frankly, help us solve a lot of problems. Neighborhoods know where the speeding cars are. They know what blocks need, these traffic calming measures. And I think they're eager to work with the administration on making our streets safer.
We want to acknowledge President Congo on the line, but I do want to make it clear, we really don't have to make an amendment. It says it right here, 60 days. As from what I'm getting, the prior administration just told them not to respond because it's right here and it is an ordinance, so that's what it means. So, okay. Any more questions from council members? If not, we have any, anybody from the public like to? Sure, whoever signed in first. And you can just make comments because this is not, we don't go back and forth. I mean, not in this committee. We just make comments. Could you say your name for the record, please?
Yes. My name is Rosalie Hornbuckle. I submitted the petition, and I live at 1320. I have two homes, 1338 Lancaster Avenue and 1320 Lancaster Avenue. And the petition was submitted primarily in terms of not just Lancaster Avenue, but Connell Street. Connell Street is a city street. The reason why this became such a dire situation for us is because of the amount of property and lives that have been lost. See, last year, you may not have realized this, but last year there was a man hit on 2nd and Connell, got dragged by the car he was hit all the way up to Broome Street, made a left on Broome Street at the top of the 1300 block of Lancaster, was dragged all the way down Lancaster Avenue beyond my house at 1320, right? So that's a square block. The paramedics, which were city response, the police, city response, they couldn't even touch him. They had to wait for something, a machine to come while we all watched this man and the car finally releasing him and driving off. He died 3 days later, and the paramedics had to get something like a spatula to scrape him up because they couldn't take him apart. I want to say I have been, my husband, my late husband, 1338, Lancaster, Gerald Hornbuckle, who I believe got Councilmember McCoy.
1 minute, go ahead.
Got Councilmember McCoy to do that traffic study, which was, I believe, in 2022. So he was born on that street. And we have had our cars, I want to say every single year. I have a $1,000 deductible. I have 2 cars. And every single year, I've paid at least $1,000 out. The last time I paid $1,000 out was as a result of a police chase coming down Connell in the middle of winter on icy roads that then caused the traffic on Lancaster
5 seconds.
to run into my car. So I don't think that we're asking you to do the traffic studies or do the calming studies, but even most recently, a few, what was it, last
Time is
November or December, there was a car
Time is
that
up,
took
ma'am.
out steps and ran into houses,
Excuse
and the
me,
city
ma'am.
had to come
Time is
out
up.
and do that. So it's in your best interest to help us to promote this to the state, because we pay taxes to the city.
Thank you, ma'am. Next person. Whoever signed up. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Chairwoman Oliver and
Thank
members
you.
of the Public Works and Transportation Committee.
Go ahead.
My name is Brandon Fletcher, and I come here today as a community advocate and volunteer with the Transportation Committee of the 4th Street Civic Association, and really just deeply concerned about pedestrian safety in the city of Wilmington, particularly at the intersection of Lancaster and Connell, but also 2nd Street, 4th Street, Lincoln, and Union Street. These roadways, these streets are vital corridors for our community, yet they remain hazardous for visibility. They remain hazardous for pedestrians due to high-speed traffic, lack of adequate crossing infrastructure. Residents, including children walking to and from school, seniors, and public transit users face daily risk while navigating these intersections. And we have already seen too many near misses, and we refuse to wait until another tragedy takes place before an action is taken. The city has an opportunity today to commit to working with us, the community, to prioritize pedestrian safety and ensure that our streets are accessible and secure for everyone. We recognize that some of these roads, like Lancaster Avenue, fall under DelDOT jurisdiction. However, that doesn't mean that the city is powerless. The city still plays a role in prioritizing projects on state roads, particularly through the Wilmington Initiative meetings, where decisions are made about transportation improvements. Last June, Commissioner Weber, Mr. Weber publicly committed to working with us to address pedestrian safety concerns at the Civic Association meeting. And so we want to build on that commitment and collaborate with the commissioner and city leadership to push for real solutions, not just for one intersection, but for all of these high-risk corridors. And so our request today is that you work with us to make pedestrian safety a top priority.
1 minute.
Thank you. On Lancaster, 2nd, 4th, and Lincoln, as these streets must be made safer through traffic calming measures, better crosswalks, and improved visibility. Also, we want you to formally escalate these concerns to DelDOT and activate and advocate for these changes, even where the city does not have direct control. It can and should push for improvements. And then also, we want a clear update on actions taken by the commissioner since June. What progress has been made? What are the next steps? And lastly, use Wilmington Initiative meetings to ensure these safety measures are prioritized. Residents have done our part. We've submitted formal requests, attended meetings, and followed proper channels. We are asking you to work with us as partners in making these streets safe. We're not here to oppose the city. We're here to collaborate and find solutions together. We are prepared to escalate this issue further if necessary, but we would much rather work alongside Commissioner Weber and Commissioner Williams and everyone else. And we urge this committee to stand with us, push DelDOT for action, and ensure that pedestrian safety is no longer ignored. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to speak, to signed up? You have 3 minutes.
Just very quickly.
Excuse me, sir.
My name is James Brunswick. I'm a resident of the fifth district. We have just several specific asks. I'm work with the 4th Street Civic Association, and we have 3 asks for the council and for the commissioner. One is to have written guidelines for the submission of the petition. While the resolution itself is fairly specific about what's required in there, we're getting new data today that we weren't aware of. For example, the filer having to be a resident of the community and other issues there. There's also, we'd like to have some data available to us. We found out in the process that there's a whole page of data about pedestrian safety in our area. We were able to put our hands on a copy of the pedestrian safety study, the 2023 pedestrian safety study, but it took some work to find that information. We'd like the city and the Department of Public Works to work with us in a collaborative partnership. We'd like you to designate a representative to work with our committee. We have reached out to the other agencies that are stakeholders, WMAPCO, DelDOT, Wilmington Initiatives. We have had residents of the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th Councilmatic District have attended our meetings. And we'd also like cooperation with the city in a process that enables us to work on the multiple city and state roads that intersect in our area. We have in that pedestrian safety study, 7 of the top 20 accident intersections are in our neighborhood. So it would be, and virtually every one of the concerns that we have are on streets, city streets that intersect state roads. So we can virtually do nothing at all unless we can get around this limitation on concerns that have only to do with city streets. We need a better process than that.
Thank you,
Because
sir.
we'll never resolve any of our problems.
Thank you, sir. We have anyone else? State your name, please. For the
I'm
record.
Jamila Davey, and I'm a resident of the 5th District, and I reside where the 5th and the 7th come together. And I'm part of the community group Green for the Greater Good, who's a group of residents who are focused on resident engagement and planning initiatives, especially when it comes to sustainability issues and public spaces. And I regularly attend a variety of planning and civic association meetings on the West Side, and can just bear witness to the many times in which Lancaster Avenue has come up and these other corridors, 4th Street, 2nd Street, and specifically this Connell and Lancaster issue. And can also, bear witness to the kind of exasperation that residents feel after, recording it on 311, bringing it up to the police, talking about it at these meetings, filing the petition, and then not having any redress. And I hear it in the commissioner's remarks now too, that it is a long process to get to, and that's how it is, right? So so we want to make sure we have some concrete steps coming out of here. So I want to echo what folks have said. This community has stress tested that ordinance. And it does need a little bit of a language tweak. It does require that when the petition is granted, then they have to respond in 60 days, but there's a period before it says what to do if it isn't granted. So we need to close that loophole. And then we also, echoing what Mr. Brunswick just said, we need there to be a mechanism about how residents are going to deal with corridors and intersections that cross jurisdictions. So when it is City of Wilmington and a state entity, like how are we going to do that? Residents need tools. And this community also heard that they needed to provide additional traffic data. Well, our community needs some tools to figure out how to do that. Maybe they get matched with somebody. Maybe there's additional stuff that can be put together, like a worksheet or a set of questions to take them through. And go into the comp plan, the 2028 comp plan. There's 2 places in there where it talks about the need for better tools for the community to request street improvements. So in part 1, there's an ask, and then in part 4, there's a call to create a neighborhood street program where residents can request traffic calming, green infrastructure, all those kinds of things. I also want to reiterate that throughout this plan, Lancaster and 4th Street are lifted up as gateway corridors and Main Street corridors that require some interventions to be turned back into neighborhood streets. Another thing we hear at all these meetings is that people remember before these streets were widened and the sidewalks were taken away. And I also read in the documents that crashes happen at the speed that it's possible on a corridor. And so we need to plan corridors for the speed that they should be traveling at. So we need to change these streets so people travel more slowly on them, so they're neighborhood streets. And this is going to require not just speed bumps and bump outs, but, reclaiming some of the road for community.
Time out.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to make a statement. I really appreciate you have someone else. I'm sorry. I want to say something. Sure, give me 1 minute, please. I'm sorry. Just state your name, please. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, good evening. My name is Tracy Jenkins, and I'm a resident of Connell Street, North Connell Street in the 100 block. And I just come here this evening as a resident asking that we get some help from DelDOT since Lancaster Avenue is a state road. I have an elderly mother, and she cringes every time we have to go and make that left turn onto Lancaster Avenue. She's just deathly afraid. 1, we can't see. We can't see. And then 2, when that light turns green on Broom Street, they go from 0 to 60. By the time they get to Connell Street, they might be doing 70 or 80. And if you're not paying attention, then you're going to get hit. I have stood on my porch and I have seen city police flick their lights and use their sirens just to get out of our street. We need help. I mean, that's all we're asking for. We need some help. And we're asking that you do it in a timely manner. If it's, rejected, let us know that. Then we can move on to plan B. If it's accepted, let us know that so that we can move on. But I just ask for some help. That's all. Just a little bit of help so we can know what we need to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we make a statement? I'm very familiar with all these streets. My sister, the 1600 block of West 4th Street for over 50 years. It is very dangerous over there on Lancaster Avenue, and I apologize myself again for no one returning an email or calling y'all, because that whole area, everything y'all said, I see it visually because I'm over there a lot. So hopefully, and we do have a unit, department that could work with you, and that's the engagement unit that Stephanie has talked about. Is it possible we can get them Greg's email? Do we happen to have Greg? Y'all have an ink pen? Let's give
Absolutely.
them somebody's
One
email.
moment. Let me grab
I
my
appreciate it. Let's give them Greg's email so y'all can email Greg Morris, who's in charge of this unit, and that would be the person. I mean,
Actually, this would be West Side, so this would be Jackie Castaneda.
okay, if you can give them whoever's name so they can feel like they came to a meeting and got some help tonight. So Brandon and whoever's back there, do y'all have an ink pen or put in your telephone?
Oh, you have Jackie? Okay, but I'll say it out
Can
loud.
you say it
just in
out
case.
loud, please?
Absolutely. Her name is Jackie Benitez Castaneda, and that email address is JB.
JB?
JB ENITEZ hyphen CASTANEDA at wilmingtonde.gov.
Thank you. And you can CC me on the email so we can make sure somebody is following up. Councilmember Christian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank all the residents who came out tonight, everybody who's been organizing around these issues. the accidents are terrible. People talk about them, and people witness them. You shouldn't have to go through that. The damage to your cars, you shouldn't have to go through that. And I just want to thank you for doing all the organizing to make the changes to the streets. I also want to thank the Department of Public Works for coming to this meeting, for walking people through the process about working together on city streets. Hopefully we can do more working together around public involvement in which streets get prioritized through the city's structures for working with DelDOT, like Wilmington initiatives. And I also want to just really thank my fellow city council members for holding this meeting and for giving the residents of the 5th District and everybody, the opportunity to learn more about this petition process and just raise your concerns. So thank you for coming out.
One second.
Oh, there's more people?
Excuse me.
Oh, there's more public comment.
Yeah, I know. I was just that's okay.
I apologize, Madam Chair. I didn't realize.
That's okay. You said you wanted to say something. It's okay. So we have some individuals online that would like to speak. You can get started. You have 3 minutes.
Hello?
Yes, could you state your name for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Carmen Silva. I am a resident of the 5th District. I also signed that petition back in June. I was part of the group of residents who went around knocking on doors to ask our residents to help us with these signatures and for the petition. So I am here, and basically I'm expressing my deep frustration and disappointment with the city's delay and inadequate response to the urgent traffic safety concerns on Lancaster Avenue. In June 2024, we, the residents, submitted a petition requesting a traffic study due to the high number of accidents along this road, one of which resulted in a pedestrian losing his life. The city was expected to respond within 60 days. However, yet we did not receive any response until recently because we started asking, and this is 9 months later, only to be told that this is a state issue because the road is state-owned, and this is not acceptable. A representative from Public Works attended the Be Ready Church Association meeting in June, where residents voiced again their concerns. At that meeting, we were assured that the issue would be followed up. However, after 9 months, instead of meaningful action, we received a vague and dismissive response. Traffic safety is not just a state issue, it's a public safety issue. Whether the road is owned by the state or the city has the responsibility to advocate for the safety of all residents. The city has full control over its own processes for addressing residents' concerns and should be actively working with the state to find solutions, not passing the responsibility off. The petition submitted included all necessary documentation,
1 minute.
resident signatures, photos, and statistical data providing the severity of this problem. We're demanding answers. We really need to know, why was the response so delayed? Why was it so vague? And most importantly, what will the city do to ensure no more lives are lost? Residents deserve real action, not bureaucracy. We need collaboration, accountability, and a commitment to making our streets safer, our city safer, and a response, that will make us understand the entire process. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online? Is there?
Hello.
Sure, could you please?
My name is Jared. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, just state your name for the record, please, sir.
So my name is Jared Kaufman. I live in Union Park Gardens, so the 7th District. I really want to say very quickly that while I do work for DART, I am attending and speaking as a resident, not as a representative of DART. And I do echo everybody else's comment that, the most dangerous roads in Wilmington are those that are state-owned. So for there to be no process other than going to DelDOT and not having the city, not going to the city to try and then escalate these roads to DelDOT and find solutions quicker and help us push to DelDOT to get these roads safer. You know, it's really, like someone said before, passing the buck. Union Park Gardens is bordered by Lancaster and Union. There's no other way to get out of our neighborhood. So without looking at state roads, we really can't do much with this ordinance, especially when the things that we want to get to are on Union Street. Sure, there are problems, of course, in our neighborhood, but it's not comparable to what is happening on Lancaster and Union. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we have anyone else online? No one else online? Any council members like to say anything? Close.
Hi.
No, I'm sorry.
My name is Cheyenne Miller.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Cheyenne.
Can I speak?
Sure. She said it wasn't nobody else. Feel free. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Cheyenne Miller, and I live on the 7th District, in the 7th District, near the 4th and Lincoln Street, like cross-section. And I mean, like, I'll be honest, I do a lot of work in the city, and I live in the city, and every single year I go to different meetings where people bring up the fact that they've tried to get the city or tried to get the state to do something about a street that they know is just simply dangerous, and they just don't have the luck of getting either any response, or they're given kind of this runaround and these bureaucratic steps to go through. And I will say, it is really frustrating that this happens every year. A lot of residents are being really nice right now. I know those people that are in there walked around to get signatures and did their best and did not get a response. And while, we all love to blame Mike Przicki for the fact that he just has a bad, constituent engagement practice, it really is the fact that, like, no one has actually just done anything, period. And so I just think it's really important that we really take it seriously. People are dying. I'm scared to walk my kids on that block. I break walking rules and traffic rules because I don't want to have to walk my kids on that block because I don't want anyone to get hit. And so I just hope that people really realize that people are always asking for help. There's a stop sign that Southbridge Civic Association has been trying to get, and y'all just don't do it. Y'all just don't respond. So I'm just really hoping that y'all actually take it seriously. These people showed up, they're taking their time to come out and talk to you, and you need to really listen to them.
Is that all? Okay, thank you for your comments. We have anyone else online, Ms. English? Councilman McCoy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say one last thing before I got off. I just want to thank you again for making certain that we had this ordinance. It is so much needed. We've had this conversation off and on pretty much since we got into council about speed bumps. We were just trying to figure out, I've asked that question many times on why there wasn't a way to try to do something to slow down traffic. And, we've gotten many answers on why the city do not permit them. And so we had to try to find that's the reason why we keep saying traffic calming devices, because we're trying to find other methods. And one was actually, thought and discovered is yes, there's something that we could probably do. But I have to say, honestly, I haven't really seen it yet, but I'm so excited to see what it looks like. I do thank Ms. Hornbuckle for coming out, because yes, Mr. Gerald is someone who I worked with closely trying to figure out how we can figure out what was going on with Lancaster Avenue. I've had to have that box put out more than one occasion, trying to collect data for DelDOT. Everyone is right. It takes a long time to get DelDOT to do anything. It took 3 years for them to do Broome Street. It took me almost a whole year to get them to slow down the traffic coming off of South Lincoln Street, just to put up reflective signs, and also the city to cut down a tree so you'll be able to see around the corner when you're leaving out of Ellesmere coming into Wilmington. Like everybody wants to gun it once they leave like Ellesmere. They feel like, oh, it's time to fly or whatever. And I'm like, they were literally running in the houses and everything over there. So I totally understand, and that's probably why I've been the person who has been reaching out to DelDOT the most, because I have Maryland Avenue, Lancaster Avenue, Broome Street, Union Street, Lincoln, all of those are all in my district. So that's the reason why I've been like, contacted them the most. But I'm more than happy to try to look at whatever types of information that is required, or any person that you need. I'll try to see if I can look up their number or email to give it to you, because I've reached out to just about everybody trying to get stuff done, because it does need to happen. I've seen potholes get fixed quickly in our city, but it does take longer to tell them to get the street done. So I just want to say thanks again to Councilwoman Oliver for making certain that we had this ordinance. And if someone could please forward me the petition so I can get started on Sycamore Street, that'd be much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson? Nick, who's that?
Yes, I appreciate, similar to the sentiments of my colleagues, this is somewhat a long process, and I really, and again, I think me and Chairwoman, I think we'll obviously talk with Public Works. We have to find a way to streamline this, because the reimagining of Union Street, as a point of reference, working with Will Mapco, it was a multi-year process, and unfortunately, just people don't have that much time to wait. Lives are being lost, as the residents have stated it correctly. So we do need a way to get the state involved quicker. In terms of legislatively, we're going to look at all options and try to use our authority, at least from the city's end, to figure out how we can exert our home rule charter. So it is a frustrating issue, and I just wanted to thank the residents for coming out. As I've been in the meetings as well, where these West Side roads have been discussed, and it is, I appreciate the patience, but we are going to get some answers from the state.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Councilman Johnson. Oh, yeah. Ms. Bass Knight, please.
Yes, Chairwoman. Last year, as part of the budget process, Council had negotiated in $100,000 for traffic calming devices. I guess we just need to find out how much of that has been utilized, and if anything is planned for fiscal year 26 budget.
Thank you. I was going to say that in closing. This money, first of all, I want everybody to know this is an ordinance, so this is not a resolution. This is law. And we have the money in that was placed in Public Works budget. And as everyone has stated, I'm going to echo it, this ordinance, regardless about the petition, this ordinance was passed last year, and I've been out to two locations in the 3rd District with 2 contractors, and speaking with Mr. Weber, you said you're waiting for, I guess, to hear back from the people or whatever. I just think it's long enough. Something needs to be done. I have the petitions. Kendra has the petitions. I don't know why y'all don't have the petitions. I've been out with 2 contractors. Again, over there where Mr. Earl Tate on Jessup Street, they put an additional stop sign there, and it still hasn't done any good. And I think, Mr. Webster, how long will it take for you to get the information you're waiting to get back?
It's still not done. They're checking in more information, but I do have a preliminary report which I can share with you if I can.
Are we talking about Jessup Street?
Yes.
We have not, my office has not received a petition with.
No, I'm saying, but we have copies of it upstairs. I don't know why you never received them, just saying, but I do have it. It's old, outdated, but I mean, it's from last year, but I make sure you receive it. That's why I went out with the contractors. I wouldn't have went out with them if I didn't have the petitions.
Yeah, they gave us.
In fact, the lady from Lumber Street came up here and spoke about it and handed us a petition that day. I'm glad I gave them to Kendra, a copy of Kendra.
I think it might, did you give it away?
I don't think, oh, here you go.
Jessup Street, okay.
So got a preliminary speed and volume count on Jessup Street. One just north of 27th Street, and another one just north of 22nd Street. So two different locations on Jessup. Speed and vehicle counts. At just north of 27th Street, the 50th percentile, which is basically out of roughly 1,600 vehicles passed through, so the 50th percentile, which is the median number, the speed was 19 miles per hour. The
So
80.
this is which street? I mean, you
This
can
is
send
just
me-
north of 27th.
North of 20. Yeah. You can just
Jessup
send
and
me-
27.
Jefferson 27th, just
you can
north
just
of.
send me a copy of it.
Okay.
Because that's on 27th. We're talking about on 25th. Yeah.
And then we have one down by 22nd.
So when you do a traffic study, if you're looking to get a particular point, you have to start before and you have to start after. So if you're looking for 25th Street, you've got to start at around 22nd Street and then end at 27th Street.
Okay.
And what he's saying is that 99.3% of the people who passed were below 30 miles per hour.
On 27th Street.
On Jessup Street at the intersection of 27th Street.
Okay.
And at 22nd Street on Jessup, 97.9% of the people were below 30 miles per hour. So that's the preliminary results that we're getting. The full report is still being prepared by RK&K, looking at, recommendations and things like that. But, they've done the counts, they've done the analysis. It's just, the report has to be put together.
Gotcha. Council Member Owens?
Yeah, when was this done exactly?
In the last month.
Okay, so by 27th Street, 27 and Jessup is where y'all did this. There is a pothole there, so that would make people slow down. So that's going to mess with the numbers a little bit. Just putting that, it's a kind of a natural.
Potholes are definitely.
It's like a natural speed.
Absolutely.
Deterrent.
No, I mean, when the streets in Wilmington were not as smooth as they are now, there were. Yeah, there is a direct correlation between the smoothness of the surface.
Oh
and-
yeah,
and
I
the
definitely believe that. And I'll go past that area. I don't know if the pothole's been fixed there, but I do know that's probably what was causing them to be a little slower during this traffic study that happened there. I've seen cars. I drive Jessup all the time. I see cars fly down that area.
We're not saying that there aren't cars that go fast. We're just saying the majority of the vehicles do not, unfortunately. And it's also very hard to put these controllers and these traffic counters in spaces. It needs a longer run. We want cars going full speed, so it's usually mid-block.
Yeah.
And we have to make sure there's assets there to attach these units. And also there's not other vehicles blocking it where people would park and block the view. So there's a lot that goes into the analysis of where a controller or a detector would be placed.
No, I completely understand. I'm not disputing the science, but I'm just saying that a big hole in the street could cause people to go a little slower.
Absolutely.
So that could mess up the study a little bit. The variables.
And there's a lot of other information that goes into this as well, including, the accidents, the types of accidents, fatal, non-fatal, vehicle versus vehicle. There were 8 injury crashes. There was a fatal crash around 25th involving a dirt bike operator. There's a lot of information that goes into these reports. And it's not until we do the report that we would consider, a traffic calming device, so that we have a full picture of what's happening there.
Any more questions?
No, I just have one more comment. I just wanted to say thank you so much again for bringing this ordinance up, Councilwoman Oliver. I really wish that the former mayor shared your willingness to empower the community to have a voice. But again, I look forward to continuing to work with the community on this and making sure that we are able to respond in a respectful manner.
I mean, as Ms. Bass Knight stated, the money has been there, so I'm wondering why no study has been done a long time ago, but I'm not going to keep beating a dead horse. But there's no other questions. Thanks for coming out, going to the presentation, and we will be in touch. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have Councilman McCoy. You have a resolution. Councilman McCoy. Me either. What is? There it is. Yeah. Could y'all take the conversation in the hallway, pretty please? Could you take it in the hallway? Thank you. Because we're still recording. Thanks a lot. Okay. Next, we have Mr. Patrick, Willie Patrick, to discuss the city emergency evacuation process. Yeah, why not? He came on. Okay, Mr. Patrick, how you doing this evening?
Hello, Councilwoman Oliver. Thank you for inviting me to presenting on the preparednessde.org and the city's evacuation zone. Well, it really is the state of Delaware evacuation zone program. So I'll just go right into this. I was watching the clock because I have a second district NPC meeting that starts in about 25 minutes, right? So I just wanted to make sure that I hung in here because I wanted to make sure that I was here to present, right? So
thanks a lot.
So, evacuation zones. Well, so what are they? So evacuation zones informs the community of when and how you evacuate. And that's in case of emergencies. If there was a PowerPoint presentation that I had sent to Wendell.
Yeah, I have a copy of it in front of us.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. So with the main part of the evacuation zone program and the whole getting to know your evacuation zones is know your zone. It's the state of Delaware. It's part of preparedde.org. Let me say that again, preparedde.org. And I would say that anyone who wants to know.
Could you repeat that again?
About
Mr. Patrick, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? You said dd.org?
preparedde.org.
Okay.
Got it? Okay. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about preparedness resources, right? So one of the main parts, the mainframe of preparedde.org is Know Your Zone, and this is knowing the evacuation zones in advance. And I think we would agree that knowing your evacuation zone in advance is going to speed up the process of evacuation. It avoids the confusion during an evacuation, and it'll keep you safe. And then the evacuation zones are labeled by letters. And in the city of Wilmington, we have evacuation zone A, B, and D. So evacuation zone A would be any of those areas that are prone to flooding, like along the Brandywine and the Christina River. And then as you move further away from the the river or the creek where there might be flood inundation, then you get to a B. And then as you move further and further away from that, like maybe Hilltop, maybe Northeast, that's evacuation zone D.
I'm sorry, Northeast is evacuation zone D?
D.
B.
So evacuation zones encompass all those low-lying areas, right? So it'd be those areas that are susceptible to flooding and storm surge.
Which one is 11th Street Bridge?
Specific evacuation zones in the area, and it gives proper guidance. It gives proper guidance in the event of emergency. So planning for evacuation reduces the unnecessary congestion. If we plan for an evacuation, it'll reduce the congestion on the roads, the overcrowding. It allows for a quicker and a safer movement, and there is a call for an evacuation. And just let me say that with evacuation zones, or whatever the route that you might take, it depends on the nature of the incident, right? Because if the incident is occurring in 11th Street Bridge community, well, we know that the evacuation zone is going to be probably in another direction. Most of our storms that hit the state of Delaware come from the south. Hurricanes come from the south, or they come from the east. So with that, it's just on a common nature that the evacuation zones would go to the west or the north, right? I'll identify what those routes are. But so what do you do next? So once you know your zone, and just like I said at the beginning of my talk, if you go to know your zone, and if you go to preparede.gov.org, go to know your zone, put in your address, it'll identify your evacuation zone. So you go to preparede.org, go to know your zone, put in your address, and it will identify your evacuation zone. Now, so after you know your evacuation zone, what do? Well, you're going to have to get information related to the evacuation, right? So, and let me just say too that I advise everyone, once you go through that process of identifying your zone, make sure you write it down. Put it somewhere where put it on a index card and tape it to the refrigerator. Put it in where you keep your safe papers, but just make sure that when it's time for you to reference where your evacuation zone, because when you get evacuation information from the Delaware Emergency Notification System, DENS, it's going to give you information and it's going to reference your evacuation zone, right? So make sure that you know your zone. So what's next? So you sign up for DENS. You sign up for the Delaware the Emergency Notification System, DENS. This is the primary. DENS is the primary system for public warning and emergency protective action here in the state of Delaware. So with DENS, you'll, residents will receive either a email, text message, a phone call, or even on social media. It's dictated by when they sign up what they choose. Just let me say also that DENS is a subscription-based program, right? So if you don't sign up for DENS, you won't get the information, right? So make sure I would really encourage all of our residents to sign up for DENS. And the other one is I encourage our residents to sign up for Smart 911. Okay, so all right, so what's next? So we signed up for DENS, and also there's another. We talk about notification because, again, as I stated at the top of my talk, right, is that once we identify evacuation zones, then we need to get information related to the evacuation. We get it through DENS, and then we also get it through EAS, the Emergency Alert System, right? And that is when you know how you get the notifications over your radio or your TV. That's the Emergency Alert System. And so with that, right, it gives information that's going to be pertinent to the storm and pertinent to the evacuation. So Madam Chair, you asked about evacuation zones, and I was listening to the discussion on state roads in the last presentation, and our evacuation routes are those state roads. It's the same roads. It's because, just as I stated, evacuation most of the time is going to go from the south to the north or from the east to the west, right? So Concord Avenue, Pennsylvania Avenue, Lancaster Avenue, and then, but let me state that Concord Avenue to the north, Pennsylvania Avenue to the north, Lancaster Avenue to the west, Market Street, Route 13 to the west, and then South Union Street, Route 2 to the west, I-95, you can go either direction, north or south, right? And then I-495, north or south. So when we look at some of the other preparedness resources that are available to our residents after they identify their evacuation zone, after they've and there's a lot of other information that goes with preparing for evacuation. That's it really, there's a lot of information when we talk about preparedness, about building resilient communities, about making sure that our communities are prepared, whatever the emergency might be, whether it be man-made or natural. We should all have a level of preparedness, right? That's way up here, so that whenever a call for evacuation happens, we're in a position. We don't have to run around and try to figure out what to do, because we're in a preparedness state that no matter what happens, we're going to be able to respond. How do we do that? Because we do it by making sure that we have all the resources. Talks like this, what we're doing today, with you, and I thank you, Madam Chair, for bringing this to the forefront, and then also making sure that we know what the resources are, making sure that we sign up for DENS, for the Delaware notification system, making sure that we sign up for Smart 911, and then the other means of notification is WEA, which is the wireless emergency alert system, where you get notifications on your cell phone, right? So there's that information is I'm sure that you've gotten those pings on your cell phone during a storm. That's WEA. Okay, so that is. Oh, I'm sorry, I have one more. Okay, so the other part of when I talked about the preparedness resources, the other one I spoke about was an emergency alert system, which is another means of notification. That's what hits all of those radio stations and the TV stations, right, that provides information. But none of this does you any good, will do us any good, if we're not to a level of preparedness and making sure that we're keeping all of this knowledge in the forefront, keeping all the knowledge about the the notification system, subscribing to DINS, subscribing to Smart 911, and then making sure that we're building emergency kits, right? Our own personal emergency kits. You know, those kind of actions keep us safe.
I have a question
And-
for you.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the zone for 11th Street Bridge where Hurricane Ida hit very hard? What is that zone?
That's Zone A. That's
Zone A? Okay, one other question. Since the hurricane, have you upgraded in any of the emergency exits, like made them a little bigger? I mean, nobody expected the Hurricane Ida, but these are the questions that I can take back to the residents over there.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, have I made what bigger?
You know, just emergency exits where they're identified, and she's had a resident email me and said so have you made any what adjustments have you made since the hurricane?
So I don't control the evacuation routes or the state roads. I have no control over those. So what we have done is that we increased our level of notification, our means of notification. Now, what we didn't have during September the 2nd, 2021, is the integrated public alert warning system, where now with it's called iPause. With iPause, I can geofence any area in the city and send messaging out to that area about storm preparation, about evacuation. The other thing that we've done, Madam Chair, is that we've really stepped up our public outreach, going out to civic associations and providing information related to resilient communities and community preparedness, emergency preparedness.
So who would I contact? You said you have nothing to do. I would think since Hurricane Ida, who's the person over in the state that you may contact with regarding the alert system as far as the signage? The question was, the email was sent to me that asks about the evacuation signs. Who would that be? Have you spoken to anyone about the evacuation signs since Hurricane Ida?
About the evacuation signs? So how, let me just say this, how we gain knowledge about evacuation routes is not just looking for signs, it's just knowing where your sign is, what your evacuation route is, right? So that's what we're doing. We're giving communities information about know your zone, about identifying their evacuation routes, right? So, and a lot of those, and I reached out to DelDOT, Dwayne Day from DelDOT, just to see if a lot of those evacuation signs are still up. Some of them are, but a lot of times you don't hit those signs until you're out into the county, right? So,
I think excuse me. I think that is the question. Do we have any in Wilmington? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. That was the question. That's what I'm asking you. Do we have any? I mean, even if you don't have them, do we have any evacuation signs in Wilmington? That was the email. So that's, I guess.
Yes. There are some signs in Wilmington, but the majority of them are outside. But again, as I stated, that I don't think if there's an evacuation, anyone's going to go around looking for signs. You just got to know. How do you facilitate an evacuation? It's just knowing your zone, knowing the proper evacuation route. If I tell you that you need to evacuate up Route 202, go north out 202, you're not going to be looking for a sign. You're just going to make sure that you go out Route 2, out 202, or Route 2, or Route 13, or Route 48, right, or Route 52, right? So
over 11th Street Bridge where it was really, 11th Street Bridge where it was hit really hard, the lady asked me about a signage. So you can't say that you don't think you may not be looking for signage because you're very familiar with your zone A, B, C, D, and all that, but a person that's not aware of it, and her house was flooded over there. So she said, look, if we was trying to get out of here, it was flooded. I couldn't go by Gander Hill because that's a flood area, and it was flooded by Governor Prince. But I'm just saying, excuse me.
That's why they listen to the information.
But
that
I don't
comes
think
over
it's gonna
them,
hurt
that
anybody
comes
if it's a sign up
over the
there.
radio that comes over and it gives them instructions, about how to evacuate.
Okay. I just sent an email because I guess you don't know the answer to that, but continue.
No, that's it. But I thank you for allowing me, giving me the opportunity to present. I like. Oh, I have some handouts that came from Newcastle County OEM that provides information on evacuation routes, preparedness, know your zone, and I think those would be very beneficial to the community. It's a one-stop shop. Everything related to emergency evacuation is in this handout.
Okay, if you can.
And I'll get that to your office tomorrow.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Director. I appreciate you coming out and giving your report. Thanks again, Director Patrick, for this update.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
Okay,
Good timing. My meeting at NPC starts in 1 minute. Thank you so much.
Have a good one. Thanks again.
All right, goodbye.
Sure. Next, we have Council Member McCoy's resolution. Is she on the line?
I am.
Okay, you can start.
All right. Thank you for your patience. I'm sorry. I knew I was supposed to go next. Okay, so this resolution is something that will be going down to the Delaware General Assembly. It is let me look over hold up. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. It shrank on me real quick. So this is a part of the strategic plan. They prioritize safe and secure Wilmington by supporting legislative action that deters illicit activity. This resolution requests that the honorable members of the DGA amend Title 21 of the Delaware Code regarding conditions permitting reissuance of vehicle registration numbers to require an extended time frame for reissuing vehicle registration numbers associated with the license plate. Now, what this is that I'm not certain whether or not everyone is aware, but once you have a license plate and you no longer drive that car, you have so much time to surrender that plate. After a certain amount of time, I believe it is just 12 months. After a certain amount of time, even if you have not surrendered that plate, the DMV will recycle that number. Myself and I know someone else personally who has told me a similar story, and I just laughed and I felt like, why haven't we figured out a way to deal with this? A plate will get recycled. There will be a plate out. They will reissue your plate number to you, even though the other plate has not been surrendered. And if that person may still be driving around with that plate on their car because they have not gone to get it re-registered or have insurance on it, you have two identical plates riding around on different types of cars. And if any type of easy pass violation or anything come up, it's going to go to you because you're the person who has the car registered in your name through the DMV. So what I've asked, this resolution is to go downstate just to request that they, when it comes to the time frame, that they extend the time frame longer than 12 months to perhaps even 24, unless the license plate has been surrendered, to alleviate those type of issues because we have so many readers where, you're on the highway and they're reading your tag numbers and giving you, as you're paying your toll. We have too many readers going on where we can actually make many more mistakes by not having a piece of legislation like this moving forward. So that is basically what this is. I just wanted to make certain that our state legislators took a look at this and that they find that this will be a good solution to deal with, not having people being fined for tickets that actually should not belong to them.
Thank you.
And that was it. Yeah.
Thank you, Councilman Coy. I'd like to be a co-sponsor. I think this is a great piece of legislation to send down, especially when you're talking about two people riding around with the same tag number.
Yes, I had to clear up quite a few $100s. Someone was running through the tolls down in Maryland with the plate that we had. We had just gotten a car, and so we basically had identical plates. Even though the cars were not at all identical, the plates were, and we were receiving all the tickets. And it took me a couple weeks to get it cleared up.
Okay, no problem. Council members, any
Yeah.
question right here? Go ahead, Christian. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, that does sound like something that could be cleared up, and it sounds like it could be a big problem getting tickets because somebody else is running red lights. So I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Council member Owens.
Yes, thank you for bringing this forward, Councilwoman McCoy. I would also like to be added as a co-sponsor, please.
Okay, any more council members? Any comments? Non-members? Any? Okay, is anyone from the audience? I mean, anyone out there like to make a statement? Okay. That being said, thank you, Councilman McCoy. This is a resolution, and it doesn't have to be voted out of committee. And with that being said, we have no more business on the agenda. So is there a motion? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chairwoman, okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been second. It's been properly moved and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you for attending the Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Good night.